Hey guys, J.K. Whitehead with the Baseball Rebellion here, doing this breakdown of Kevin Pillar here for the center fielder for the Toronto Blue Jays, and in this article I featured really two things, two lower half mistakes that I think he's making, and then one upper half flaw that I think he's making that could really, if he decided to make some significant changes in what he does, I think he can be a much more bigger threat for the Blue Jays in his role, and maybe even be a guy that hits maybe up in the lineup more, maybe leadoff guy. I know he's got the speed and the defensive his defensiveness to back it up. But his batting average, things like that, I think with these corrections will have a huge rise in it. And I want to be really clear. I'm going to compare him here to Jose Bautista and obviously Donaldson and some of these other pictures that you've seen in this article. But really for him, it's going to be about how much harder the average batted ball in play that he hits. Whether he hits more home runs or not really isn't the point. But it's going to be able to, we're going to be able to see a couple of things here that can really help him increase his hip rotation, which in turn was going to create, increase his bat speed, which in turn will allow him to see the ball longer, make better choices about certain pitches, and like I said, the average ball in play that he hits will be harder. Therefore, raise his batting average up. Maybe hit for a little more power too, more doubles. He can line up on second base instead of first base and be much more valuable there too. So we're going to take a look. And I got him, and like I said, also I have a video of Bautista lined up here right after. I'm going to show you why I like some of the things that Bautista does. That I think that him as a Blue Jay, Pillar, could watch Donaldson and Bautista and really learn a lot from what they do. And the first thing we're talking about is his lower half, and his lower half meaning from his core down to his feet, and kind of what happens as he goes through his movement here. So we're going to watch. And as he goes and picks up, now I highlighted in the pictures below how his leg kick didn't really change too much. After I watched the interview, I went and watched a ton of video of the past couple months, and really his leg kick I like. I like the height of it. He's relatively calm with it. It might be a little quick, but it's pretty good. And I think that leg kicks and things like that, and how we here at the Baseball Rebellion really enjoy types of leg kicks like this. They can really help a guy with momentum and timing and tempo if used correctly. And he does a pretty good job here. I like the height of it. He does crouch in a little bit towards the plate, and that's really starts to kind of gets me right here. Is we can watch him go through his movement, and you can see really the first mistake that he makes is one of the worst mistakes that he makes. And we're going to talk about stride direction. Okay, so as he goes in, he puts his foot down. You can clearly see that his feet are misaligned. Now, this video actually is one of his best ones. This is a ball that he actually hits over the fence. This is a home run of his. And from some previous video that I've seen, he actually has made some improvement, which is good to see for him. But we can see that the line here is a little bit off. Now, having said that, we know that the camera angle from this side view isn't exactly right behind the pitcher. It's a little bit off to the right, so there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. But from most of the videos that I've seen, his stride direction has been this or worse, mostly worse in the swings that I've watched. And like I said, I picked a home run swing because I wanted a swing that showed, a lot of power in it from his swing. And this is one of the best ones. And this stride direction is actually okay, but overall, his stride direction usually is very in to the point where he starts to lean over the plate a lot, and his stride direction is going to be more here on this line as opposed to what we know is a good stride direction is heel to heel. The second thing I want to demonstrate real quickly is his foot being closed on the front side. So as he goes to start the swing of this, he's made his decision. He's going to swing at it and begins to open his hips. You can see how closed his front foot is. It looks like he wears Mizuno cleats. I don't know exactly, but it kind of looks like it from the side. And I really shouldn't be able to see that. With the hip rotating out, that front hip or the front pelvis, part of the pelvis, with that front pelvis rotating this way, the knee needs to be able to rotate out cleanly, and the foot will follow suit. And we just don't see that. And that's something that he could do right away in two things with that stride direction and allowing his front foot to open more from the lower half perspective is really going to, I think, make a change for him in the power department. And when I say power, like I said, I don't mean home runs necessarily. I just mean harder hit balls in play. And as he rotates, you can see a couple of things that stem from a close and front side and a little bit of an inward stride. Number one, you can see his front foot really digging the ground right there. And you can see how his front knee is rotating out and his foot staying closed, and we can just imagine the grinding going along his front knee right here, maybe even up into his hip and down into his ankle joint as well. and that's going to cause maybe some injuries down the road. And he relies a lot on his legs to make great plays, and he's not a big guy that can kind of overcome through the years of injury with size. He's going to have to really be efficient and effective with how he uses his body, and that's the first thing that I always watch when I look at guys is, okay, well, how are they moving their body? Are they athletic, and are they doing things that are safe for their front side, and not only safe but powerful? So that knee works backwards towards the towards the backside here really well, but it's just fighting a lot to get open. You can see how the rest of the swing, his front toe comes off the ground because it just has to. If someone were laying on his front foot right there, he would probably tear his ACL or some kind of other injury inside the knee capsule, and that's just something that we can avoid. Number one, because it's not safe, and number two, because it's not as powerful. Because that front knee needs to be able to work back very cleanly, and we're going to see Bautista here in a second do a pretty good job of it. Not the best, but definitely better. And if you watch at the end of his swing here, as he goes and hits the ball, like I said, this is a home run, so he gets really good rotation still, good enough to obviously hit this ball out. You can clearly see at the contact position, you can clearly see his belt buckle, his shoulders are all the way open, his head is down on the ball, a lot of good things there. But watch how his back foot tries to do some sort of movement. You can see his back heel in the back come up off the ground, and it looks like it tries to come up off the ground a little bit, but you can see how his back foot is trapped back behind his front foot, again from a little bit of an inward stride, and that's something that he could really change relatively quickly. I mean, he's a hard worker, obviously. He's a pro. He's fighting for a position. His defense is keeping him in the game. He's got some things that he could do immediately that could really keep him up there at the big leagues a little bit longer maybe. And so here it is. Here's that back foot trying to get out of the back. It just can't. And you can see how it actually comes back behind his front foot. We can clearly see his front foot here and his back foot on the other side of his body going back there behind his calf muscle. So that's something right away that I think he could do better that would really, like I said, increase his overall his rotation speed, and then consequently his bat speed would pick up too. So we're going to take a snap over real quick to Bautista. Same year. This year. Another home run, but we know that Bautista is a more prolific home run hitter, and maybe this is why. So the first part, again, we're concentrating on solely the lower half here, okay, from the waist and the core down. And if we watch him stride, we can see how he really allows that stride direction to stay super straight. Now, the angle here is a little bit different, but you can clearly see the heel-to-heel landing, okay? From the heel-to-heel landing, you can also see a slightly open front foot. Now, it's not open towards the pitcher open, but it is in fair territory, okay? It's right up the line, maybe a little bit more towards the first baseman, but it's definitely open. It's not closed. And because of that, Bautista is able to get a lot of early hip rotation. Not early in the pitch, but early in the swing. He's allowed to really get open. And the difference that is, I think, the most noticeable is what happens once we get to contact. And you can see clearly the same, really openness with his body. His hips and his shoulders are all the way open, which they need to be for that powerful swing. But at the same time, we can see the big difference is we can see that Bautista's left foot, his lead foot, is over here, and his back foot has moved. It's come off the ground, like we know that his does if we watch enough video, and his right foot is on the other side of his body. It's on the back and to the right side of his body because of his straighter stride, his much more aggressive back foot, and he's able to really transfer a lot more of his weight through the entirety of the swing. His back foot releases and allows his backside to come through. Now, again, not perfect on the front side here. You can see how it's still close enough for his heel to really violently roll out like that. Again, not a very safe over time. That's grinding down on that ankle a little bit there, and that's going to hopefully not injure him too soon. But we can definitely tell that that's not something safe that the body wants to do, and because of his rotation, the ankle and the foot is going to really fly out to the side. And something, again, he could avoid to maybe do a little bit better. Obviously, he did it good enough to hit this ball over the fence, but it's not the most efficient way to do it. So the biggest thing here is that stride direction, and then really allowing the hips to open up as much as possible. So if we split screen it, here, we can really see the difference in the landing. Okay, the landing there, the difference is pretty obvious, I think. And then from the turn, if we get Pilar turn to pass contact, we can see his back foot slip behind him and Bautista's back foot come out to the side. And it's really, when it comes down to these two guys, both of them aren't very big. In fact, they're relatively similar. Bautista's probably a little heavier, but one hits the ball a lot harder more often. And really that's what it comes down to, is things that the athlete does in the batter's box, moves athletically and swings in a way that allows the explosiveness to come out of them. and Bautista does it a lot better. And I think that Pilar could really benefit for some footwork practice, some stride direction practice, and allowing the hips to open, which he does, but then understanding that his front foot's it's okay to open more than it does as well. And then consequently, because of that better move there, the back foot's going to be in a much better place at the end. He can rotate further. We can see how he kind of has a little bit of a half swing and kind of starts to fall because there's no support back here to his right. Bautista continues to rotate, and he's on that back foot at the end, and it just leads to more power more often. And I think Pilar could really be a longer big leaguer. Obviously, the glove is there, and I think his first big correction would need to be his lower half and the way he's moving his feet. And I think, like I said, that could really extend his career, not only from maybe an injurious standpoint, but from a just overall power, the average ball in play. He could go up 5, maybe 10. Who knows? These guys are pros, 10 miles an hour. If he average batted ball goes up 10 miles per hour, what's that going to do to his batting average? What's that going to do to his OPS? What's that going to do to his slugging and all that stuff? And eventually make him much more of an offensive threat as well as a defensive threat. So there we go. There's his lower half compared to a much better lower half in Jose Bautista. And let's move on to the upper half now.